I didn't cry at my husband's funeral, not because I didn't love Frank. I loved him for 40 years, but because I was too busy watching my son pretend I didn't exist. The service was at Morrison Funeral Home on Main Street in Cedar Falls, March 15th, 2022, a Tuesday. Cold enough that the flowers outside looked frozen in their beds. Frank died of a heart attack in the barn at 6:42 in the morning. I found him slumped over his desk with a mug of coffee still warm in his hand. The coroner said it was instant. I'm still not sure if that makes it better or worse. Thomas arrived late. Not 5 minutes late. 43 minutes late, I counted. I stood at the door greeting people I'd known for decades, shaking hands that smelled like hand sanitizer and pity. And my son walked in with his wife Veronica like they were arriving at a cocktail party. She wore a black dress that probably cost more than our monthly grocery bill. Heels so high she had to grab Thomas's arm just to walk on the carpet. "Mom," Thomas said, and kissed my cheek. His breath smelled like peppermint gum. He didn't look at me when he said it. Veronica smiled, the kind of smile you give someone when you're trying to remember their name. "Eleanor, so sorry for your loss." She'd been calling me Eleanor for 7 years. I'd asked her to call me Ellie 3 times. Mom once. She acted like I'd asked her to strip naked in church. The service was short. Pastor Jim said nice things about Frank that were true. Good father, hard worker, loved his land. Veronica checked her phone twice. I saw the glow under the pew. Thomas sat between us like a wall. He didn't hold my hand. At our wedding in 1982, Frank held my hand so tight during the vows I thought my bones would break. I wanted that pain again. I got nothing. After the burial, people came back to our house. The one Frank and I bought in 1985 for $180,000, back when that was real money. 3 bedrooms, wraparound porch, 400 acres of land that rolled out like a quilt. I'd made sandwiches the night before, ham and Swiss, turkey and cheddar, and put them on the good plates, the ones with the blue flowers that Frank's mother gave us. Veronica walked in, looked at the sandwiches and said, "Is there anything gluten-free?" I said, "There's fruit salad." She sighed like I'd just told her the world was ending. Susan showed up 20 minutes later, Veronica's older sister, 42 years old and dressed like she was going to a business meeting. Black pantsuit, red lipstick, leather bag that looked like it could hold a small dog. She'd been between jobs for 3 years. I knew because Thomas mentioned it once and then never again. Susan walked past me without a word, grabbed a sandwich, and sat at the kitchen table like she owned it. Veronica joined her. They spoke in low voices. I caught pieces. "Can't believe he left everything to her. We need to talk to Thomas. But she doesn't even understand what she has." I kept refilling coffee. That's what you do at funerals. You keep people's cups full so they don't have to think about why they're there. Thomas stood in the living room with a group of men from the co-op. I heard him laugh. A real laugh. The kind he used to make when he was a boy and Frank would chase him through the cornfield. I hadn't heard that laugh in years. Definitely not directed at me. Veronica's parents arrived last. Greg and Diane Harmon. Both 70 years old and wearing matching black overcoats that looked like they cost more than my car. Greg owned a Chevrolet dealership until 2018, when he sold it after some trouble with inventory I never fully understood. Now they lived in a condo in West Des Moines and drove a Lexus they couldn't afford. Diane hugged me. It felt like being hugged by a skeleton. "Eleanor, sweetheart, how are you holding up?" "I'm fine," I said, because that's what you say. "Well, if you need anything at all, you just call us, okay?" She patted my hand. Her nails were painted burgundy. They looked like claws. Greg shook my hand. His palm was damp. "Frank was a good man. You'll be taken care of, I'm sure." I didn't know what he meant by that. I would later. The house filled up. 20, 30 people. Neighbors I'd known since the 80s. People from church. Frank's cousin from Dubuque. They all said the same things. "He's in a better place. Time heals. Let us know if you need anything." And then they left. By 4 p.m., it was just me, Thomas, Veronica, Susan, Greg, and Diane. I started cleaning up. Plates, napkins, half-empty cups. Veronica sat at the table scrolling through her phone. Susan ate another sandwich. Thomas stood by the window looking at the barn. That's when it happened. I picked up a plate near Veronica. She was holding a coffee mug, one of the plain white ones from the set Frank bought at Target in 2003. She looked at me, really looked at me, and then she tilted her wrist. The mug fell. Coffee spilled across the table, soaked a napkin, dripped onto the floor. "Oh," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. How clumsy of me. She didn't move, just sat there. Susan looked at the spill, looked at me, smiled. Veronica tilted her head. "Eleanor, would you mind? I'd hate to stain this beautiful table." The table was oak, 40 years old. It had a burn mark from 1992 when I set a hot pan down without thinking. It had scratches from where Thomas used to do his homework with a pencil that dug too deep. It wasn't beautiful, it was ours. I stood there holding the plate. "Eleanor?" Veronica said again, sweeter this time. Like she was talking to a child. I looked at Thomas. He was still staring out the window. He hadn't turned around. I set the plate down, walked to the sink, got a dishcloth, came back, knelt on the floor. The coffee was still hot. It burned my hand when I soaked it up. Veronica crossed her legs. Her heel touched my shoulder. She didn't move it. "You know," she said, voice casual, light, like we were discussing the weather. "I was just telling Susan that you've lived such a simple life. Frank must have worked so hard to make sure you never had to worry about money." Susan laughed, a short, sharp sound. "I don't know how you did it, Eleanor. 40 years on a farm. I'd lose my mind." Diane joined in. "Well, some people are just built for that kind of life. Hard work, simple pleasures. It's admirable, really." Greg grunted. Frank was smart, kept things modest, no flashy spending. I wiped the floor. The cloth turned brown. Veronica leaned forward. I could smell her perfume, something floral and expensive. "Thomas told me you still use coupons at the grocery store. I think that's so sweet." I did use coupons, not because I had to, because Frank and I always had, even after the gravel company started making money, especially after old habits. Thomas finally turned around. He looked at me on the floor, looked at Veronica, said nothing. "Thomas," Veronica said, "maybe you should take your mother out for dinner sometime. I'm sure she could use a treat after all this." Thomas nodded. "Yeah, sure, Mom. We can do that." I stood up. My knees cracked. I'm 63 years old and my knees have cracked since I was 50. I walked back to the sink, rinsed the cloth. The water ran brown, then pink, then clear. Behind me, I heard Susan whisper, "Does she even know what she's sitting on?" Veronica whispered back, "Not a clue." They thought I couldn't hear. I heard everything. I turned around. They were all looking at me. Veronica with that smile, Susan with her arms crossed, Greg and Diane like they were watching a play, Thomas like he wanted to be anywhere else. I dried my hands on a towel, the one with chickens on it that Frank bought me as a joke in 1998. "Thank you all for coming," I said. My voice didn't shake. I'm proud of that. "I'm very tired. I think I need to rest." Veronica stood up. "Of course. We'll get out of your hair." She looked at Thomas. "Honey, we should go." Thomas nodded. He walked over, hugged me. It felt like hugging a stranger. "I'll call you, Mom," he said. He didn't call. They left in 2 cars, Thomas and Veronica in their Honda CR-V, Susan riding with Greg and Diane in the Lexus. I watched them drive down the gravel road until the dust settled. Then I walked to the barn. Frank's office was in the back, a small room he'd built himself in 1998. Wooden desk, filing cabinet, a chair that squeaked when you leaned back. On the wall was a framed photo from the Iowa State Fair in 1987. Us and Thomas. Thomas was 4. He was holding a blue ribbon from the pig competition. Frank's arm was around my waist. I tried the door. Locked. I tried my key. It didn't work. Someone had changed the lock. I stood there in the cold, in the barn that smelled like oil and dirt, and 40 years of my life, and I couldn't get into my husband's office. I walked back to the house. The sun was setting, orange and pink, the kind of sky Frank used to say looked like a painting. Inside, the kitchen was clean. The table was dry. The coffee stain was gone. I sat in Frank's chair, the one by the window. It still smelled like him, soap and sawdust. On the table was a business card. I hadn't seen it before. Nelson and Price Law. Estate planning and family mediation. Veronica's handwriting on the back. Call when you're ready to talk. I sat there until it was dark. The clock on the wall ticked. 40 years of ticking. I counted every second. Susan moved into my house 6 days after the funeral. I didn't invite her. On March 21st, a Tuesday morning, I was in the kitchen making oatmeal when I heard a car in the driveway. I looked out the window. A silver Honda Accord. Susan got out carrying 2 suitcases. Thomas was with her. I opened the door. "What's going on?" Thomas wouldn't look at me. "Mom, Susan's going through a rough time. Her lease ended and she needs a place to stay for a few weeks, just until she finds something." Susan smiled, walked right past me into the house. "Thanks, Eleanor. You're a lifesaver." She took the guest bedroom, the one with the quilt I made in 1989. By noon, her clothes were in the closet, and her makeup covered the dresser. That night at dinner, chicken and rice, the same meal I'd made for 40 years, Susan sat in Frank's chair. "This is really good," she said. "Do you have the recipe written down somewhere? I'd love to take a look at all of Frank's paperwork, to help you organize." I said, "I can manage." She smiled. "Of course you can, but 2 heads are better than 1, right?" The next morning, I found her in Frank's office. The door was open. She'd gotten a key somewhere. She was going through the filing cabinet. Papers spread across the desk. Bank statements, tax returns, property deeds. "What are you doing?" I asked. She jumped. Put her hand on her chest like I'd scared her. "Oh, Eleanor, I was just trying to help. This place is a mess. When's the last time anyone organized these files? Frank organized them." "Well," she held up a paper. "Did you know you have a deed here for something called Novak Gravel Company?" My heart stopped, just for a second. "I didn't know Frank had a business," she continued. "Is this still active? It might be worth something." I walked over, took the paper from her hand. "It's nothing, old paperwork." She tilted her head. "Are you sure? Because if it's worth anything, you should know. For estate purposes." I put the deed back in the cabinet. Closed it. "I'll handle it." Susan left the office, but I saw her on her phone in the hallway, whispering. That Friday, Veronica called. First time since the funeral. "Eleanor, hi. How are you holding up?" "I'm fine." "Good. Listen, Thomas and I have been talking. We're worried about you. That house is so big and you're all alone now. Have you thought about maybe downsizing?" "No." "Well, you should. The property taxes alone must be killing you. And maintenance on 400 acres? That's a lot for one person." I didn't say anything. "We want to help," Veronica continued. "Actually, we need to ask you something. Thomas's car broke down, the transmission. It's going to cost $8,000 to fix, and we're a little tight right now. Could you loan us the money? Just until his next paycheck. I can loan you $8,000. Silence, then. "Actually, we were thinking maybe $15,000 to cover some other expenses, medical bills. You understand?" I understood. "I'll think about it." "Mom," Thomas got on the phone, his voice tight. "It's important. Veronica's parents are helping with their share, but we're short. You're the only one who can help." Their share. Like this was some kind of group project. I said I'll think about it. He hung up. 2 days later, Susan started measuring rooms. I found her in the living room with a tape measure and a notebook. "What are you doing?" "Just getting dimensions. In case you decide to sell. Buyers like to know square footage." "I'm not selling." She wrote something down. "Eleanor, can I be honest with you? This house is worth at least $400,000, maybe more. And you're living here alone, eating oatmeal and couponing at Hy-Vee. Don't you want to enjoy your life? Travel? Buy something nice?" I like my life. She sighed, closed the notebook. Veronica told me you won't loan Thomas the money. That's pretty selfish, don't you think? After everything he's done for you? What has he done for me? Susan stared, like I'd just said something in a foreign language. He's your son. He visits. He calls. He didn't visit. He didn't call. That night I went to the barn, tried the door again, still locked. I walked around back, looked through the window. I could see Frank's desk, papers stacked neatly, the coffee mug still there, and I saw something else. A folder, red. The kind Frank used for important documents. I needed to get inside. The next morning, Susan was gone. Her car wasn't in the driveway. I called the locksmith, Jerry Pike. He'd changed our locks in 2005 after we lost a key. Eleanor, I can't, he said. Someone already called me. Said you have dementia and I shouldn't help you with anything without family approval. Who called? A woman. Didn't leave a name. I hung up. That afternoon, Veronica, Thomas, Greg, and Diane showed up. No warning. They walked in like they owned the place. Greg sat at the kitchen table, Diane next to him. Veronica and Thomas stood. Eleanor, Greg started, we need to talk about your finances. My finances are fine. Are they? He pulled out a paper. Because according to the property tax records, you owe $12,000 this year, and your bank account shows $23,000. That's not a lot of cushion. I stared at him. How do you know what's in my bank account? Veronica touched Thomas's arm. Honey, you're on her account, remember? Joint access. You showed us. Thomas looked at the floor. We're concerned, Diane said softly. You're alone. You're aging. What happens if you get sick? What if you fall? I'm 63, not 90. Greg leaned forward. Frank left you everything. That's a lot of responsibility. We think it might be time to set up a trust. Let Thomas manage things. Take the burden off you. I don't want a trust. Mom, Thomas finally spoke. We're trying to help. You're being stubborn. Veronica put her hand on the table, right where she'd spilled the coffee. If you help us with the $15,000, we'll drop this. We just need a little help. That's what family does. I looked at all of them. 4 faces. Waiting. Get out, I said. Greg stood up. You're making a mistake. They left. I sat alone at the table. The clock ticked. I counted to 100. Then I went upstairs to Susan's room, opened her suitcase, found what I was looking for. A key. Small, brass, with a red tag. The barn key. I walked outside, across the dirt, to the barn, slid the key into the lock. It turned. Inside, I opened the red folder on Frank's desk. The first page was a contract. Novak Gravel Co. Annual revenue, $576,000. The second page was an appraisal. Estimated value of mineral rights and operational assets, $8,000. I sat in Frank's chair. They had no idea. Susan noticed the key was missing on April 3rd. I know because that's when she started slamming doors. I was in the kitchen making coffee when she stormed in. Did you go through my things? This is my house, I said. Everything here is my things. Her face turned red. You had no right. That key was given to me by Thomas, for safety reasons. Safety from what? She didn't answer, just pulled out her phone and left the room. I heard her voice through the wall. She took it. I don't know how she knew. Yeah, she's acting paranoid. Maybe we should move faster. I drank my coffee. It tasted like metal. That afternoon, I went to the bank. First Federal on Cedar Street. I'd had an account there since 1983. Sherry Patterson was behind the counter. We used to be on the church council together. Hi, Ellie. What can I do for you? I need to check my account balance. She typed on her computer. Frowned. Looks like there was a withdrawal yesterday. $10,000. Check number 2847. I didn't write a check. She turned the screen toward me. The check had my signature. It wasn't my handwriting. Close, but not quite. The E was wrong. I always looped mine twice. Who cashed it? Thomas Novak. He's on the account as joint holder. It went through fine. My hands felt cold. Can you remove him from the account? Sherry shifted. I'd need his signature for that. Since he's joint, he has equal rights. It's my money. I understand, Ellie. But legally, thank you, I said. I left. I sat in my truck in the parking lot, a 2004 Ford F-150 that Frank bought used. It had 240,000 miles, and the check engine light had been on since 2019. I watched people walk into the bank. Normal people. People whose sons didn't steal from them. My phone rang. Thomas. Mom, we need to talk. You took $10,000 from my account. Silence. Then, it wasn't stealing. I'm on the account. And you owe us. We asked for $15,000. You said no. So I took what we needed. Veronica's medical bills aren't going to pay themselves. What medical bills? That's private. You forged my signature. I didn't forge anything. The bank accepted it. That means it's legal. His voice got harder. You know what? I'm tired of this. You've been acting crazy since Dad died. Paranoid. Suspicious. Susan says you went through her stuff. That's not normal behavior. Susan is living in my house without paying rent. She's family. Family helps each other. But you wouldn't know anything about that, would you? You never helped anyone. Dad did everything. He worked himself to death while you just existed. The phone felt heavy. Your father and I built that farm together. You cooked and cleaned. Dad built a business. There's a difference. He hung up. I sat there until the sun started setting. Orange and pink, like a painting. When I got home, Susan's car was gone. So was half the food in my refrigerator. I checked the guest room. Her suitcases were still there, but the drawers were empty. She'd moved her clothes somewhere, maybe to Thomas's house. The house felt bigger, colder. I made myself dinner, scrambled eggs, toast. I ate standing up at the counter because sitting at the table alone felt worse. At 8 p.m., someone knocked on the door. A man in a suit. 30-something, holding a clipboard. Eleanor Novak? Yes. You've been served. He handed me an envelope. Left without another word. I opened it at the kitchen table. Petition for guardianship and conservatorship. Filed by Thomas James Novak. Case number 22CV0847. Blackhawk County District Court. I read it 3 times. Petitioner alleges that respondent Eleanor Novak, age 63, is unable to manage her own affairs due to diminished mental capacity, erratic behavior, and poor financial decisions. Petitioner requests full guardianship and control of all assets, including real property located at 1847 County Road 12, Cedar Falls, IA. The hearing was scheduled for September 16th, 5 months away. There was a note attached, handwritten, Veronica's handwriting. This is for your own good. We love you. Sign the consent form and we can avoid court. A consent form was clipped to the back. If I signed it, Thomas would have legal control over everything. My house, my bank account, the farm, the gravel company, everything Frank and I built. I sat there until midnight. The clock ticked. I didn't count. The next morning, I called Jerry Pike again, the locksmith. Jerry, I need you to change all the locks on my house. Today. Eleanor, I told you. I know what you told me. I'm telling you I'm not senile. I'm not incompetent. And if you don't come out here, I'll call every other locksmith in Cedar Falls until I find one who will. He came at 2 p.m., changed 6 locks. Front door, back door, barn, cellar, garage, and the side entrance. Cost me $480. I paid cash. You sure about this? He asked when he was done. Very sure. He left. I tested every lock twice. That night, Susan tried her key. I heard her on the porch rattling the door handle, then knocking, then pounding. Eleanor, open the door. I sat in the living room, didn't move. She called my phone. I didn't answer. She called 17 times. I counted. Finally, she left. I went upstairs to the guest room, packed all her belongings into her suitcases, carried them to the porch, left them outside. In the morning, they were gone. For 3 weeks, no one contacted me. No calls, no visits. The house was silent except for the clock and the wind and the sound of my own breathing. I started going through Frank's files. Every paper, every receipt, every contract. The gravel company had 14 active contracts. Monthly revenue averaged $48,000. The mineral rights extended across 180 acres of our property. Frank had been negotiating with a development company in Des Moines. They wanted to buy the whole operation. There was a letter dated January 2022, 2 months before he died. Mr. Novak, per our conversation, we are prepared to offer $12,000 for full acquisition of Novak Gravel Co., including mineral rights, equipment, and existing contracts. Please respond by March 1st. Frank never responded. He died 2 weeks later. I sat in his office. The chair still squeaked. I could almost hear him. Ellie, don't let them take it. I built this for you. On September 10th, 6 days before the hearing, my lawyer called. Bill Nelson. I'd hired him in April after the petition was filed. Ellie, I have to be honest. This doesn't look good. Thomas has statements from 3 people saying you've been acting erratically. Your sister-in-law, your daughter-in-law, and a bank teller who says you accused her of theft. I didn't accuse anyone of theft. That's not what their affidavit says. And Thomas has medical records showing Veronica's treatment for stress-related illness. He's arguing that your refusal to help financially demonstrates impaired judgment. What do I need to do? Show up, answer questions honestly, and pray the judge sees through this. He paused. Ellie, if you lose everything. Sign the counter petition. We file Friday. I'll sign. I hung up. That night, I sat in Frank's chair and watched the sunset. Orange and pink. The clock ticked. I counted every second. I hired a private investigator on September 11th. His name was Marcus Webb, former cop from Waterloo. Bill Nelson recommended him. What do you need? Marcus asked. We met at a diner off Highway 20. He drank black coffee and took notes on a yellow pad. My daughter-in-law says she has medical bills. I want to know if that's true, and I want to know what my son has been doing with his money. Marcus nodded. How much can you spend? Whatever it takes. He called me 4 days later, September 15th, 1 day before the hearing. You're going to want to sit down for this, he said. I was already sitting. In Frank's office. The chair squeaked. Veronica Harmon Chen has no medical bills. None. I checked every hospital and clinic within 50 miles. She hasn't seen a doctor in 2 years except for a routine physical, but she did buy a Mercedes last month. 2022 C-Class, $48,000. Financed, but she put $15,000 down. My $15,000. The money Thomas stole from my account. There's more, Marcus continued. Your son refinanced his house in July. Took out a home equity line of credit for $85,000. The bank required your signature as a co-owner of the original property. I don't own his house. According to the deed, you do. It was a gift, filed in 2008 when he bought it. Your name is on the title as joint owner. Someone forged your signature on the refinance paperwork. I closed my eyes. 2008. Thomas was 25, fresh out of grad school. He'd asked Frank and me to co-sign. We'd paid the down payment, $40,000, our savings. Frank said it was an investment in Thomas's future. Where did the $85,000 go? I asked. $30,000 to Veronica's parents. Paid off their condo mortgage. $20,000 to Susan Harmon for consulting fees. No idea what she consulted on. The rest went into a joint account that's been emptied, withdrawn in cash over 3 months. I opened my eyes, looked at Frank's desk, at the picture of us at the state fair. Thomas holding his blue ribbon. Can you prove the signature was forged? I can get a handwriting analyst. Cost you $2,000. But yeah, I can prove it. Do it. Marcus paused. Ma'am, if this goes to the authorities, your son could face criminal charges. Fraud, forgery, identity theft. You understand that? I understand. You sure you want to do this? I thought about Thomas on the floor of this barn when he was 7, helping Frank organize tools. I thought about him at 18, loading hay bales without being asked. I thought about him at his wedding, dancing with me to Unforgettable, while Veronica checked her phone. I'm sure, I said. The hearing was the next morning. September 16th. Black Hawk County Courthouse in Waterloo. I wore the same black dress from Frank's funeral. Bill Nelson met me outside. Ready? He asked. No. We walked in. The courtroom smelled like floor polish and old wood. Thomas sat at a table with his lawyer, a woman in her 50s with gray hair and a briefcase that looked expensive. Veronica sat behind him. So did Susan, Greg, and Diane. They all looked at me. Veronica smiled. Judge Patricia Henshaw entered. 60-something. Sharp eyes. She read the petition aloud, then looked at Thomas. Mr. Novak, you're asking this court to grant you full guardianship over your mother. That's a serious request. What evidence do you have that she's unable to manage her affairs? Thomas's lawyer stood. Your Honor, we have affidavits from 3 witnesses attesting to Mrs. Novak's erratic behavior, paranoid accusations, and financial irresponsibility. Additionally, Mrs. Novak refused to provide financial assistance to her son during a medical crisis, demonstrating impaired judgment and lack of familial concern. Judge Henshaw looked at me. Mrs. Novak, how do you respond? Bill stood. Your Honor, we have evidence that directly contradicts these claims. We'd like to present documentation showing that the alleged medical crisis was fabricated and that Mr. Novak has been systematically defrauding his mother for financial gain. Veronica's smile disappeared. Bill placed a folder on the judge's bench. Bank records showing unauthorized withdrawals, a forged signature on a home equity loan, and proof that the $15,000 Mr. Novak claims was for medical bills was actually used as a down payment on a luxury vehicle. The judge read for 3 minutes, didn't look up. Finally, Mr. Novak, did you forge your mother's signature on a refinance document dated July 18, 2022? Thomas's lawyer whispered something to him. He shook his head. No, Your Honor. My mother gave verbal consent. She just didn't want to drive to the bank. Verbal consent isn't legal consent for a secured loan, Judge Henshaw said. Did you withdraw $10,000 from her account without permission? I'm a joint account holder. I had every right. Did you tell her you were withdrawing it? Thomas looked at Veronica. She stared at the table. No, he said quietly. Judge Henshaw closed the folder. Petition denied. Mrs. Novak retains full control of her assets. Mr. Novak, you're removed from all joint accounts effective immediately. This court also recommends that Mrs. Novak consult with law enforcement regarding potential fraud charges. Thomas's face went white. We're adjourned. The gavel hit. Bill touched my arm. You won. I didn't feel like I'd won. I felt tired. Outside the courtroom, Thomas grabbed my arm. Mom, wait, please. I stopped. I'm sorry, he said. His eyes were red. Veronica told me you had dementia. She said you were hiding money and that you'd lose everything if we didn't act. I believed her. You stole from me. I know, but I can fix this. I'll pay you back, every cent. Just don't press charges. Please, I'll lose my job, my house, everything. Veronica appeared behind him. Eleanor, let's be reasonable. We're family. I looked at her, really looked at her, at the designer purse, the heels, the watch that probably cost more than my truck. You're not my family, I said. I walked away. That night, I got a call from Marcus. Thought you'd want to know. Greg Harmon was arrested this afternoon. Fraud investigation. Turns out he's been running a fake investment scheme. Lost about $80,000 of other people's money. One of his victims filed charges. Who? His own sister. She invested her retirement. Karma, I thought. Frank used to say it always came around. 2 days later, Greg had a heart attack. Mild, he survived. But the legal bills didn't stop. Susan called me on September 20th. First time in months. Eleanor, I need help. Greg's in the hospital and Diane can't afford the bills. Can you loan us $20,000? I almost laughed. No, you're a selfish bitch. You know that? Goodbye, Susan. I hung up. That week, I called the development company in Des Moines. The one that wanted to buy the gravel operation. This is Eleanor Novak. My husband Frank received your offer in January. The man on the phone, Carl Morrison, sounded surprised. Mrs. Novak, we thought that deal was dead. Is the offer still on the table? Is the offer still on the table? For $12 million, absolutely. But we'd need to close by the end of the year. I'll have my lawyer send the paperwork. Wait, Carl said. I should mention, we had the property reappraised in August. With the new highway development planned for 2024, the value has increased. We're prepared to offer $5 million. I sat in Frank's chair, the one that squeaked. I'll think about it, I said. That night I printed a photo, the one from Marcus's report, Veronica at the Mercedes dealership, signing papers, smiling. I put it in an envelope, wrote Veronica's name on the front, added one word inside, surprise. I mailed it the next morning. She called 2 hours after it was delivered. What do you want? Her voice shook. I want you to know I see you, I said. I see everything. I hung up. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. Veronica showed up at my house on October 2nd. No warning, just her silver Lexus in my driveway at 7 a.m. I watched from the kitchen window. She sat in the car for 5 minutes, checking her makeup in the mirror, rehearsing. Finally, she got out, knocked on the door. I opened it, didn't invite her in. We need to talk, she said. No, we don't. Eleanor, please, I know you're angry, but we can work this out, as a family. You're not my family. Her jaw tightened. I'm married to your son. That makes me your family whether you like it or not. How's the Mercedes? I asked. Her face went pale. That photo. You had someone following me? I had someone finding the truth. She crossed her arms. Fine, you caught me. I bought a car. So what? Thomas approved it. We needed reliable transportation. With my money. With money Thomas took from a joint account he had every legal right to access. She stepped closer. Her perfume smelled like lilies, funeral flowers. You can't prove I knew where the money came from. I can prove your husband forged my signature. I can prove you lied about medical bills. I can prove you manipulated him into stealing from his own mother. Veronica laughed. Sharp. Cold. You think Thomas will back you up? He'll say whatever I tell him to say. He always does. Why? I asked. Why do you hate me so much? She stared at me. For the first time, I saw something real in her face. Not hate. Contempt. Because you're pathetic, she said. You spent 40 years playing farm wife, cooking, cleaning, pretending you mattered. Frank built everything and you just existed beside him. And now you're sitting on millions of dollars you don't even deserve. Thomas deserves it. He's your son. He's earned it. What has he earned? He put up with you. Your sad little life. Your boring stories. Your cheap clothes and your coupons and your... She stopped, took a breath. Thomas is going somewhere. I'm making sure of that. And you're not going to stand in our way. I looked at her, this woman who'd been in my family for 7 years, who I'd welcomed, fed, tried to love. Get off my property, I said. Or what? You'll call the police? Go ahead. Tell them your son stole from you. Destroy his life. Prove what a selfish bitch you really are. I closed the door, locked it. She stood on the porch for 3 minutes, then left. That afternoon, Bill Nelson called. Ellie, we have a problem. Veronica's lawyer filed a motion. They're claiming you coerced Thomas into giving you access to his accounts, and that you've been siphoning money from the gravel company for years. They're asking for a full forensic audit. Let them audit. They won't find anything. That's not the problem. The problem is they're going public. There's a reporter from the Waterloo Courier asking questions. This is going to get messy. Good, I said. Bill was quiet. Ellie, are you sure you want to do this? Very sure. On October 10th, Thomas called. First time since the hearing. Mom, please. You have to stop this. Veronica's family is pressuring us. Her dad might go to prison. Susan lost her apartment. Everyone's blaming me. Maybe they should. I made a mistake. I'm sorry, but you're destroying my life. I'm not destroying anything. You did that yourself. He started crying. Real crying. Loud, gasping sobs like when he was a child and fell off his bike. Mom, I can't lose everything. Please, I'll do anything. I'll pay you back. I'll divorce Veronica. Just tell me what you want. I closed my eyes, saw him at 7 years old in the barn, at 18 loading hay, at 25 buying his first house with money Frank and I gave him. I want you to tell the truth, I said. In court, on record, everything Veronica did, everything you did, she'll leave me. I know. Silence. Long enough I thought he'd hung up. Okay, he whispered. I'll do it. The deposition was scheduled for October 15th, Bill Nelson's office. Thomas, his lawyer, Veronica's lawyer, and a court reporter. I wasn't allowed in the room, but Bill told me everything after. Thomas admitted forging my signature, admitted taking the $10,000 without permission, admitted that Veronica had no medical bills and that the money went to the car. When asked why he did it, he said, "Because my wife told me my mother didn't need it, that she was hoarding money and it should be ours." I believed her. Veronica's lawyer asked, "Did your mother ever mistreat you?" Thomas cried again. "No. She gave me everything. She sold her wedding ring to pay for my college. I didn't know that until yesterday. I thought I got a scholarship." That night, Veronica filed for divorce. Susan called me the next day. "You happy now? You destroyed Thomas's marriage, ruined Greg's life, got me evicted. What kind of mother are you?" "The kind who won't be stolen from," I said. "You're going to die alone. You know that? No one will come to your funeral." She hung up. I made myself dinner, chicken and rice, ate at the table. Frank's chair was still empty. On October 20th, the Waterloo Courier ran a story. Local family in legal battle over $12 million estate. It named everyone. Thomas, Veronica, Susan, Greg. My phone rang 40 times that day. I didn't answer. On October 25th, Thomas showed up. Alone. He looked thin. His eyes were red. "Can I come in?" he asked. I let him. We sat at the kitchen table. I made coffee. He didn't drink it. "Veronica's gone," he said. "Moved in with her parents. She wants the house, the car, everything. I'm sorry. Are you?" I didn't answer. He stared at his cup. "Dad would be so disappointed in me." "Yes," I said. "He would." Thomas looked up. "Can I fix this? Is there any way I can fix this?" I thought about the $12, $5 million offer, about the farm, about 40 years of work. "I'm selling the gravel company," I said. "All of it. After taxes, I'll have about $9 million. I'm giving you 10% if you do 3 things. Anything. 1. You finalize the divorce. 2. You pay back every cent you took from my account with interest. 3. You go to therapy, real therapy, once a week for a year." He nodded. "I'll do it. I'm not finished. You don't get the money now. You get it in a trust, managed by Bill Nelson. You get $3,000 a month. That's it. If you complete therapy and stay divorced for 2 years, you get the rest." Thomas's hands shook. "You don't trust me." "No," I said. "I don't." He stood up, walked to the door, stopped. "I love you, Mom." "I know," I said. He left. I sat at the table until the sun went down, orange and pink, like a painting. The clock ticked. I didn't count. I sold Novak Gravel Company on December 18, 2022. Carl Morrison from the development company flew to Cedar Falls with his lawyers. We signed papers in Bill Nelson's conference room. The check was for $2,500,000. After taxes and legal fees, I had $9,200,000. Bill set up the trust for Thomas, $900,000, locked for 2 years. Thomas signed the paperwork without reading it. His hand shook the whole time. "Thank you, Mom," he said. I didn't respond. That same week, Veronica's Mercedes was repossessed. I know because Susan posted about it on Facebook. Some people get what they deserve. I commented, "Yes, they do." Susan blocked me. On January 4th, 2023, I got a call from a lawyer I didn't know. Her name was Rachel Park. "Mrs. Novak, I represent Susan Harmon. She's filed a lawsuit claiming you defamed her character and caused her emotional distress. She's seeking $500,000 in damages." I almost laughed. She lived in my house rent-free for 3 months and went through my husband's papers without permission. What character? She claims you spread lies about her involvement in your son's financial decisions. I told the truth. Can you prove it? Yes. The lawsuit was dismissed in February. Susan never contacted me again. Greg Harmon was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison in March. Fraud. Wire fraud. Diane moved to Arizona to live with her sister. I heard she sold their condo at a loss. Veronica went back to her maiden name. Veronica Harmon. She got a job at a boutique in Des Moines. $15 an hour. I know, because Thomas told me. He came to the farm every Sunday starting in November. We didn't talk much at first. He'd help with small things. Fix a door hinge. Replace a light bulb. Drink coffee at the kitchen table. In January, he started therapy. A woman named Dr. Patricia Nguyen in Waterloo. He went every Thursday at 4 p.m. One Sunday in February, he asked, "Why did you give me anything? After what I did?" We were sitting on the porch. It was cold. The sky was gray. "Because you're my son," I said. "And because your father would have wanted me to." "I don't deserve it." "No, you don't." He looked at me. "Will you ever forgive me?" I thought about the coffee spill, the locked barn, the forged signature, the petition for guardianship. "I don't know," I said. He nodded, didn't argue. In March, I got a letter, forwarded from Veronica's old address to mine. I don't know why. It was from a debt collector. Veronica owed $23,000 on credit cards. They were asking if I knew where she was. I wrote back, "No idea. Try the boutique on Ingersoll Avenue." Petty? Yes. Did I care? No. On April 12th, Thomas showed up with flowers. Daffodils. My favorite. "It's been 6 months," he said. "Since I started therapy?" Dr. Nguyen said I should tell you something. We sat at the kitchen table, the one with the burn mark from 1992. "I was angry at you," he said. "After Dad died. Veronica kept saying you had money hidden, that you didn't need the farm, that you were selfish for keeping it. And I believed her because it was easier than admitting I was jealous." "Jealous of what?" "That Dad loved you more than he loved me." I stared at him. "Thomas, your father adored you." "I know, but he loved you first. And I wanted. I don't know. I wanted to matter more." His voice cracked. He wiped his eyes. "You always mattered," I said. "But you can't steal mattering. You have to earn it." He nodded. "I'm trying. I know." In May, the farmhouse felt too big, too quiet. I started thinking about selling, moving somewhere smaller, maybe an apartment in town. But every time I walked into Frank's office, I changed my mind. On June 1st, Thomas asked if he could bring someone to Sunday dinner. "Who?" I asked. "A friend, from therapy. Her name is Lauren. She's nice." I made pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans, the meal Frank loved. Lauren was 38, a teacher, divorced, no kids. She shook my hand and said, "Thomas talks about you all the time." "Good things or bad things?" She smiled. "Honest things." We ate dinner. Lauren asked about the farm, about Frank, about the gravel company. She didn't ask about Veronica. After dinner, Thomas helped me with dishes. Lauren sat on the porch. "Do you like her?" he asked. "Does it matter?" "Yes." I looked at him. "My son, 40 years old, thinner than he used to be, tired, but present." "She seems kind," I said. "She is. Don't screw it up." He laughed, a real laugh, the kind from when he was a boy. On July 15th, I got a call from Veronica. First time in 9 months. "I need help," she said. No greeting, no apology. "No. Eleanor, please. I lost my job. I'm being evicted. I have nowhere to go. Call your parents. My dad's in prison. My mom won't talk to me. Susan blocked my number. Thomas won't answer. You're the only one. I'm not the only anything. You made your choices." "I'm sorry. Is that what you want to hear? I'm sorry." I thought about the coffee spill, the maid comment, the laughter. "Goodbye, Veronica." I hung up. 2 weeks later, I saw her at Hy-Vee. She was buying ramen noodles and store-brand cereal. She saw me, looked away, kept walking. I didn't feel sorry for her. On August 10th, Thomas completed 1 year of therapy. Bill Nelson released the first payment from the trust, $36,000, a year's worth of monthly checks. Thomas used it to pay off his credit cards. All of them. I'm staying in the house, he told me. I'm not selling. It's the only thing I have left that Dad helped me get. Good, I said. On September 16th, 1 year after the court hearing, Thomas brought divorce papers to Sunday dinner. It's final, he said. Veronica signed last week. How do you feel? Free. We sat on the porch. The sky was orange and pink, like a painting. Mom, he said, do you think Dad would be proud of me? Eventually, I looked at Frank's chair. The one by the window. Empty. I think he'd say you still have work to do. Thomas nodded. Yeah, I think so too. He stood up, walked to his car, stopped. Same time next week? Same time, I said. He drove away. Dust rising from the gravel road. I sat there until the sun went down. The clock inside ticked. I didn't count. I thought about Frank, about 40 years, about the barn and the gravel and the life we built. I thought about Thomas, about second chances, about whether forgiveness was something you gave or something you earned. I didn't have an answer yet, but I had time. The porch light flickered on. Motion sensor. Frank installed it in 2015. I stood up, walked inside, locked the door. Tomorrow Thomas would call. Or he wouldn't. Either way, I'd be here.